everyone, and welcome back to How to Spend It. Today, we are going to be talking about the top 10 things you didn't know about the Rothschild family. But before we get on to that, go ahead and like and subscribe if you haven't already. It helps us out a lot and lets us know that we are helping to enrich lives out there. And without any further ado, let's get on to the video. Number 10. Suez Canal funding. Built between 1859 and 1869, the Suez Canal was built to connect the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea. Owned by the United Kingdom and France up until 1956, the funding for the project hit a bit of a snag, as it is noted that the British government was opposed. Former British Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli wanted shares within the canal, but the Crown and Foreign Office would not provide funds to do so. Like in some situations when you can't get the money from the source, always have a plan B. The backup was by approaching the Rothschild Family branch in France for bonds that would go to France and other parts of Europe. Going to the Rothschild helped to create a strong alliance between them. Number 9. A little bit of scandal. We have all seen the different tabloids that blast out the current scandals going on for the rich and famous. It could be about who is sleeping with who is pregnant, or maybe even who is losing out on the millions they've earned. The Rothschild family is no different, with the generations they've had and the lives they've lived. In 1996, Amschel Rothschild, a well-educated man who had studied at Cambridge and was set to take on a significant position of power at the family's London firm after a merger took place. One would think that with the power and the prestige, he would be all set, but his mind had other plans. Shortly after the meeting regarding the merger, Amschel ended up being hanged in the Hotel Le Bristol in Paris. Number 8. Money to land to money again. If one wants to become wealthy, they often say to purchase real estate, as that will allow you to earn back what you spent and then some. One can only reside in so many houses at a time, which makes sense for the selling of the 1,700-acre estate located in Suffolk, England in 2015. The family began ownership of the estate in 1938 and built it up to have 35 farmhouses, stables for stud farming, 2 reservoirs, and a quaint little chapel. The main house of the lot sold for a total size of 5,800 square feet. The total amount the entire estate was sold for was £24 million, the highest amount for any estate outside the southeast. Number 7. Nobility. Do you remember dressing up as a child, going around in a makeshift crown, and perhaps a sheet wrapped around you acting like a regal cape? Maybe you got lost in a world of literature, reading about the different lords and ladies who attended balls and fought wars. These titles were not something that the Rothschilds ever had to worry about after the Napoleonic War. For the financial assistance, the titles of nobility were bestowed upon this famous family by the Austrian Empire. These titles were not ones that would fade with time once the one who received it passed on. Instead, these titles were passed down hereditarily as each generation took their place at the helm of finance. Not bad after forking out the dough for the war to be over. Number 6. Victims of war. Many of us have been taught of the battles that went on from 1939 to 1945 around the world during World War II in history classes and shown in films. We have heard of the strife that was placed on those who were different from the Germans and the looting that took place. One might think that with cash in the coffers, one would be exempt from the looting, but it was no different. The French branch of the Rothschild family suffered when the Nazis came and took over 5,000 pieces of artwork that had been accumulating over the years. This included Rembrandt and Rubens that the family had purchased. The artwork was not the only thing taken. Also taken were boxes of precious books, manuscripts, and heirlooms that were passed down through generations. From what we know, the plan was to have everything split between the leaders, with Hitler receiving the finest items of the lot. After the war ended, the pieces of art and heirlooms were discovered and returned home to the French branch of the Rothschilds to be cherished by future generations. Number 5. Humble and kind. There is always a beginning to when the rich empires take its first steps and begins the formation of the dynasty that we know. The Rothschild family may have been around for over 200 years, but they are no different and began with the founder being born in a Jewish ghetto in 1744. Meyer Amschel Rothschild was one of 7 children, who from a young age was interested in finance. His father was a money changer and a silk trader owning his own ship with a modest income. At the age of 13, he began working as a banker apprentice and by his late teens, had started working with his older brother. By that time, there were 30 of them living in an 11-foot home and needed much more space for the children that would come from him and his siblings. Number 4. There's gold. We have all heard about the Yukon gold rush that took place in the 1800s, with men and women traveling out into the unknown to find their wealth. Many would think that once you have gold, you are, well, golden. But the price for the material can always change. This is something that the Rothschild family handled along with a few fellow bankers for close to 200 years. In 1810, after having been sent to England by his father, Nathan Meyer began the finance and textile trading company N.M. Rothschild & Sons, which has been the headquarters since. As a way to control the prices, Rothschild would meet with the world's main bullion houses twice a day, which continued on every day and every year until 2004, when the famous family announced they would be pulling out of the gold market. Upon the announcement, the stocks for gold dropped $7 per ounce, which it had not seen before. It goes to show how much power one family has when a material like that drops so much. Number 3. Wasn't that a party? We all enjoy a good party with great food, drinks, and music. We have seen many different themes, from a genre to a specific decade. One can't be surprised that the Rothschilds also had some decadent parties over the years. The most famous of these parties took place in 1972 that could rival the mind of the painters. Everything from the invitations to the decor had the surrealist vibe. The invitations were backwards. There were red lights all over and everyone was in grandiose masks while making their way around the different sculptures. It is no wonder that people had the thought of Satanism, with the hostess dressed in a gorgeous gown and a full deer head mask with diamond tears. Number 2. War comes with a price. Have you ever tried to go to a bank for a loan in hopes to get some kind of venture up and running? This is no modern-day practice, as it goes back centuries and can even be applied to the idea of war. The battles are not cheap, with needing to pay for material that was used for bullets and cannons. Materials were needed for attacks, and that is what the Rothschild family were approached for during the War of 1812. It is said that the family bankrolled numerous of the different battles in hopes to control and influence the outcome and remove Napoleon from power. It is this influence that helped with our number 7 point. Money equals power, and the Rothschild family handled that with ease. Number 1. Keep it in the family. A taboo subject in this day and age, things were very different several centuries ago when people were looking to marry one another. In order to help maintain the money and Jewish traditions the family held, it was not uncommon for cousins to marry, or perhaps nieces to uncles. Meyer Amschel Rothschild made it difficult for his daughters and even granddaughters to marry outside of the family. Noted in his will was the notion that the female members would not get much of an inheritance or dowry should they not comply with the pairings their parents decided for them. The family was quite lucky as they were untouched by the physical and mental problems that the medical community has seen when it comes to inbreeding. Well guys, that's it for this video. Click the links above to check out some of our other videos. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content just like this. We have many great videos coming right up, so see you guys in the next video.